Q4 looked really solid, and the numbers that you've posted for Q4 imply really rock-solid execution. The analyst community this morning concerned that the guidance for 2021 looks a little flat. Why are you so cautious on 2021?
Hello, Guy. Yes, indeed, we had a good last quarter of 2020. We are happy with what we've delivered. 225 deliveries in the last quarter. That was on the upper side of the spectrum. Well, when it comes to 2021, we're at the beginning of the year. There's a lot of uncertainty and volatility in the market. We are under the impression of a very difficult start of the year with more restrictive measures taken by governments against the backdrop of the pandemic and the new variants. And it's difficult to give a guidance against such a backdrop. So we've decided to give a guidance to give some visibility in this global uncertainty. We are in a situation where the first half will probably be more disappointing than what we thought, and the second half potentially better. But then we don't know when the tipping point will be, and therefore we don't know what really prudence means. So that's why it's difficult to give a strong guidance.
What does your gut tell you right now? Does your gut tell you that the risk to that guidance you've given today is to the upside or the downside?
We have said we want to at least deliver the same number of planes than last year, at least 2 billion in EBIT and break-even in free cash flow. It's suggesting we think we could potentially do a bit better or better. But again, I'm coming to my previous point. It depends when we see things really getting better on the market. And this is something we have no control on. We think the vaccination campaign moves forward positively, but the short term is more negative. So again, very difficult to answer your question. We have given as good as we can, and that's the reasonable forecast we think we can make at this point in time.
You mentioned those flat deliveries, so let's talk about those for just a moment. Flat deliveries in 2021 either implies that inventories currently kind of stay the same as they are, or you need to kind of pull back a little bit on the ramp up in production that you're proposing. Is that the correct way of looking at it?
Yes, you know that we have a difference between the production rates in the first half and what we anticipate for the second half of the year. We have already indicated in January that we want to ramp up to rate 43, up from 43 in the third quarter, and 45 in the last quarter of the year. So it suggests already that the second half of the year will be stronger. And indeed, we see this risk of backloading being potentially an upside if things go better, but also a risk to have more inventories if the pandemic is longer. And that this level of uncertainty that makes our life quite difficult. Therefore, the guidance, at least same number of planes than last year, which we think we can achieve with a reasonable level of uncertainties and potentially slightly better if things are moving forward positively with vaccines around the summer.
You also indicated on the media call this morning that you think the deliveries to China will be flat this year. I was a little surprised by that. I would have thought that the rest of the world would be looking fairly weak, but China would be coming through a little stronger and maybe, therefore, deliveries would pick up there.
We had a quite high level of deliveries to China in 2020, or not high, I would say stable in percentage compared to what we've done on the previous years. It was around the 20% of the deliveries like the previous years, and we think we'll continue to be at around 20%. It could be slightly higher, but here in China as well, I mean, the international traffic is very low, and the domestic traffic has had up and downs. The situation is better than the average of the rest of the world, so we are looking positively at the future in China, but we think 2021 will remain a difficult year in China as well.
Okay, one final question. You talked about simplifying the industrial structure on the call this morning of Airbus. Does that mean you could consider closing some final assembly plants? I look at Mobile in Alabama, and I wonder, considering it is still under tariffs, whether that could be at risk.
what we have indicated this morning refers to the aerostructure business, not to the final assembly lines. On the final assembly lines, we're happy with the setup we have. We're investing in Mobile, Alabama. We have opened a file for the A220. So it's nothing about the final assembly lines. We are not changing our plans on the final assembly lines because we think we'll soon be back to the production rates we had on the single aisle in particular before COVID-19. And on the wide bodies, we have only one assembly line by type. So it is not related to final assembly line. It's more linked to the complex industrial system we have for aerostructures, parts and assembly in Europe, where we think we have to do better and work on competitiveness and simplify the production system there.